Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Viltrumics and Invincible Podcast here on the Aspect Network. I'm one of your hosts, Negan Fu, and joining me to discuss the latest and greatest in the world of Invincible is BreAnna Romero. Bree, what's going on?
So much has is going on. It's been a crazy week. It was my last week working at Disney slash ABC, and tomorrow I start a new job at Blumhouse. And so it's just been a really crazy week, but I'm excited to be recording this podcast, and I'm excited for what the week has to offer.
Yeah, are you nervous at all?
Um, Surprisingly, I'm not super nervous. As of like right now, I'm sure tomorrow morning I'll like have like butterflies in my stomach.
Mm.
But I think just like getting over my first day at like ABC, like I just kind of know what to expect in a way.
Right.
Um, and like I've met all the people on my team already, so I'm like familiar with them. Um, I think I'm just like I'm excited to start, but tomorrow I'll probably be a little bit more nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How,
you'll do fine.
thanks. How are you?
I'm okay. Again, just still some, just slow in post grad land. Um, I feel like just constantly figuring things out, job wise, socially, etc., personal projects and whatnot. Um, but mostly not too bad. Um, well, let me see what's been going on.
I feel like everyone's like in the same boat, kind of post grad, like
Yeah.
whether it's like jobs or like social stuff or both. Like I think
Mhm.
we're all just kind of going through it. Figuring out adult life is crazy.
I think it's hard to like find a groove, um,
Mhm.
kind of after college, like feeling like you have a rhythm, I suppose. Um, but yeah, so it's definitely not like a um an exclusive problem to just me.
Which is
Um,
which is nice.
yeah. A lot of my friends seem to. Anytime Will and I chat, it's a lot of just complaining.
And that's good. It's good to complain. It is.
It is. I really like it. It's awesome. Um, and I guess I'm kind of excited to not really complain about this episode, but you know, I have maybe my qualms with it overall.
Oh, interesting.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess we can get into it.
Yeah. So today we're recapping and reviewing the next episode of Invincible Season 1 with episode 6 titled You Look Kind of Dead. Kinda Dead.
And it did.
But before we start today's show, we did want to let everyone know that with the finale coming up, we will be wrapping up here on Viltrumics until season 3 comes around. Megan and I have had a ton of fun doing this podcast, being able to talk to each other, talk about a show that we both really enjoy. And we can't wait to finish out strong here over the next few weeks and then potentially see what our future holds in the world of Megan and Bree podcast together.
I know. I hope I hope Obama is okay that we're taking a break. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, I don't know. He might be a little affected. I think him and Joe Biden actually like listen together. They go on little
I
road
think so. Yeah.
and listen to us talk. You should
Um,
you should ask Obama for a job.
yeah, do you think he can hook me up with some film thing?
Yeah, yeah, he has his like little end of year lists. He knows people.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he's pretty well connected in general. in every industry.
Maybe just a little less connected than me, but
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't intern at Blumhouse or ABC.
I have a full-time job
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm no longer an intern. Excuse you.
He doesn't he does not get to work in casting at Blumhouse.
Yeah,
So he doesn't have those connects, but I don't know. Maybe he can like forward my resume or something.
my dog, sorry. Side note, my dog is like fast asleep right now and he's like dreaming, so he's like his body's like twitching right now, which is normal.
Wow.
He's okay, everybody, I swear.
The dog's dream.
Yeah.
Oh, but we'll never know what they're dreaming about.
No, unfortunately.
Crazy.
Well, let's kick off this week's show by jumping in with our overall thoughts and then we can let's just talk about the entire episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a little pause there in my brain.
Yeah. I mean,
What did you think?
personally, I think this episode is probably the weakest one of season one. Largely because it just feels a little bit like monster of the week kind of filler episode
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that doesn't focus as much on the overarching plot of Omni-Man.
Hmm.
It's still fun, and obviously we'll see the some of the events in this episode, play out in other episodes, including the next one.
Hmm.
Uh, but I remember when it came out, I was like, okay, this episode is like they slow down a little bit. Um, but there's still a lot of good stuff here and a lot of important, I think, just character development for Mark and his
Yeah.
relationship with Amber.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from. Looking at IMDb, it has the lowest rating of the season with a 7.6 out of 10. And then the one right above that one is episode 4, Neil Armstrong Eat Your Heart Out with a 7.7. So,
Oh, okay.
and I feel like both of those episodes like feel like filler kind of episodes. That still cover like important ground, but it's just they're a
Yeah.
little less than all the other episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just the main plot in this one with them going to Upstate University and
Yeah.
fighting Sinclair. Like, it's fun, but it's not as captivating as like anything with Debbie and Art in this episode.
Hmm.
Um,
It's not the lowest rated episode of all the Invincible seasons, all two of them. Um,
really.
season 2, episode 2, titled "In About 6 Hours, I Lose My Virginity to a Fish,"
Hmm.
gets a 7.3 out of 10.
Wow. I don't agree with that at all. I
I
think that episode is better in my opinion.
We've watched so many episodes, I feel like they're all bleeding together in my brain.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that episode has some cooler moments, but what are your thoughts on this episode? What did you like?
Yeah, like you said, I agree that it feels like a filler episode. However, I do think this is like a really scary episode.
Yeah.
Like we have seen like blood and guts and murdering in
Mm,
the past episode, but this one just feels so much darker in a sense, like seeing a man taking apart other men to make like cyborgs is just scary to me. And I think it's also just like if you have any like sensitivity to surgery, like there's just a bunch of surgery going on in this episode with the cyborgs and also with like Monster Girl and Black Samson and all that. So it was just a lot in like the first 10 minutes of this
yeah.
episode. Yeah, and it also just like there's like the implication of like AI in a way with like the cyborgs or
Mm,
BreAnna is what they're actually called, but I don't know, it's scary. This is a scary episode.
yeah, it is scary. And I guess we've talked a lot about like all the Donald stuff in season two, and
Hmm.
this is kind of the first real like introduction to like cyborg stuff, I
Oh
think.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it is definitely a little disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, well, I noted, I think it's the opening scene where we see this college student who's kind of a douchebag, but he gets taken by DA Sinclair, um, and turned into a reaniman. But the college student is voiced by Justin Roiland, who used to voice both Rick and Morty on Rick and Morty
Oh.
before. Yeah, there was some like allegation stuff in like
Uh-huh.
2022, and he is no longer attached to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sinclair is actually voiced by Ezra Miller,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't remember that, but I thought it was interesting that the scene, just two actors that since this episode have both been kind of subject to some controversy.
Yeah, that is interesting how that happened.
Um, but still interesting to hear voices that you recognize from other high profile projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole plot line with Sinclair is really interesting. And we do see him a couple more times. I think maybe just once actually. One more
Yeah,
time. Yeah. Um, but the thing is, like, when we were first introduced to Rick, I did not know he was going to be like a recurring character, even like past this episode. But then
yeah,
we see him like maybe one more time in this season, and then we see him again season two. Or actually, we don't see him again in this season, but I don't know. I didn't think he was going to be a recurring character, but
I know. I feel like we talked about that whenever the season 2 episode with him, like he comes back, because
yeah,
he's kind of a random character to like stick with. But I don't know like how much more we do see of him past season 2. What
yeah.
would happen? Um, maybe he only exists to like kind of serve Donald's storyline, really.
Yeah. Well, like,
Um,
and I have high hopes for him and William's relationship because I do like William and I hope William stays in Mark's life because I
mhm,
feel like he's just like a good friend to have. Like you always need that friend that doesn't have superpowers.
yeah,
Let's see. Who is Rick voiced by? I think
but
it's
not the girlfriend that doesn't have superpowers.
yeah, that's different.
Who is Rick voiced by?
He is yep, Jonathan Groff, who I was gonna say, I thought.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I didn't want to be wrong.
That's
Which
a
is
the
because
big,
I don't
big.
typically connect like Jonathan Groff with the kind of character that Rick is. But
I know it's kind of an oddly big name for such a
hmm
small
I wonder,
actor.
I wonder because this show is so big, if like people approach the like creators and they're like, "Hey, I just want to like be on an episode of this show."
True. Yeah, I could
Like
see that.
they're able to get away with a lot of like casting a lot of big names in smaller roles because it's just such like a respected show and also like they don't have to take too much time out of their week to record it.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'm interested to see as it goes on, like what other actors, make these guest appearances.
Mhm.
Um, Bree and I are available in general.
Avail LA, Avail New York. Just putting it out there. Avail record from our own houses.
Yeah, I mean,
That would be
uh,
so
I
cool.
suppose that random YouTube commenter that shat on my mic quality wouldn't agree, but
Hey, well, your mic sounds great today.
oh, thank you. Who would you, what would you want to voice? Who would you want to voice?
I'm fine with anything,
Yeah,
really. I could be a passer buyer.
yeah,
I'd be happy with that. But I mean, it'd be cool to voice a hero or a villain.
The villains are cool.
A Viltrumite, since we are the Viltrumics.
Yeah. We very notoriously have intimidating voices.
Yeah.
Um, People hear us talk and
That's what would make us interesting though. We would be so unsuspecting. Like DA Sinclair, that's an evil voice.
yeah. So we'd be like Viltrumites that lure you into some false security.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, someone make it happen.
Oh,
Obama, help us out.
Obama, if you're listening, we know you're listening.
Yeah, he is. Um, but yeah, I mean,
What
oh yeah, you ask.
what did you think of their little university visit? Not little, a lot happened, but
Um, it's cool. It's funny. The first time I saw it, I think is the only other time I've seen it in full, and that was in 2021, kind of before I went back to school, like on campus.
Mhm.
And obviously now I've been out of school for almost a year, so slightly weird in that sense. Um, but I think there's a part where Mark is telling Amber like, "Oh, I really like it here. I could see myself here, and or both of us here."
Mhm.
And obviously, knowing kind of what happens in season two with once he really tries to live that normal life, like it's just kind of sad, like knowing that it's not gonna work out how he is hoping it will.
Mhm.
Um, but mostly not the most exciting setting, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, one thing I did notice was that on their campus there was like a glizzy stand.
Oh
That
yeah.
thing that SCAD did not have.
Mm,
So I do have notes for SCAD. We do need to
okay.
add a glizzy stand on college campus.
Yeah. How many like do you think like one at the Hive, one
Yeah, yeah, one at all, not all of them. One at the Hive. I don't
every academic building, so like in between, during the break you can go get a
just
glizzy.
yeah.
That would be
And
nice.
I like that the idea that they're not like SCAD branded glizzy stands. They're just like straight up like the glizzy stands that you see like on the street.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ton of those, I guess, in New York.
Yeah, because if it
Um,
was like a SCAD branded glizzy truck, then it just like wouldn't be the same.
yeah, they'd be like $8 for this little glizzy. Um, SCAD would like come up with some name.
$8 for this little glizzy. That was a good one, Megan. That was a good one.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But no, I agree. That's a glizzy stand at the university we attended would be cool.
Yeah.
Um, wow, I really do like glizzies. Um, anyway, there's a cool moment. This is kind of a different scene, but where Nolan and Cecil are talking in like the hospital,
Hmm.
and we know that Cecil has banished dark blood and is definitely pretty suspecting. If not, he already kind of knows that it was Nolan that killed the Guardians.
Yeah.
But Nolan doesn't know that. So we kind of get to see a fun little scene where I feel like Cecil is almost talking about Nolan to Nolan, but he's like talking about Dark Blood.
Hmm.
Um, I just thought it was a fun little interaction.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy that Nolan is the one being like, oh, did Damien Darkblood kill all of the Guardians of the Globe? Like,
Yeah,
knowing that he did it, like, it's just
right.
so psychotic to me.
Right.
And then at one moment, Cecil says, because Mark like hasn't been listening to him, like
Mm.
in reference to the previous episode. And Cecil says, "You're the most powerful man on the planet, and even your kid won't listen to you." And I was like, damn. I think that
Yeah.
struck a chord with Omni Man. That like he
Yeah.
can be a good superhero, but is he a good dad all the time? Maybe not.
Hi, I'm Alex. Enjoying this show on the Aspect Network? Then you should check out my show, Philosophy of X. Each week, I pair an X-Men character, story, or concept with a relevant philosophical topic and explore how the two relate to one another. Join me on my journey to examine the world of X-Men through philosophy. And now, back to the show.
And I think it's good, like just foreshadowing to Mark rebelling against his
Mm,
father and the
yeah.
Viltrumites. Um, I also like how Nolan's pretending like, he thinks it's Dark Blood, and he's like, I can go beat some sense into him or whatever. Even though, like, if it was Dark Blood, that means Dark Blood already whooped Omni-Man plus all the Guardians.
Yeah.
Um, but Nolan's acting all tough, um, just to kind of shift the blame to someone.
Yeah, he's like really trying to push the narrative that he didn't do it, but like it's
Yeah.
everyone knows Nolan. Even your wife knows knows.
Yeah, I mean, and all the Debbie stuff in this episode is probably the highlight for me,
Hmm.
um, because this is where she finally does confront him and tells him that she knows and is very upset that he did it. Do you think she's more upset that he murdered people or that he like covered it up and didn't say anything?
I definitely think it's a combination of both, but I would say she's more mad that I don't know, I kind of feel like she's more mad that he lied.
Yeah.
Cause like I think maybe she thinks that like if he told her, maybe there would be like well, and we see it, I think, in the next episode. Let me double check my notes. Um, yeah, we see it in the next episode, which we'll talk about in another episode. But she like questions why he does it. And so I think that like if Omni Man told her, like maybe she thinks that there's a reason why. So I think
Mhm.
at first she's mad that he hid it from her
Yeah.
because she doesn't know why he did it.
Right.
And then it transforms into like a she's mad at him because he did it
Yeah.
and the reason why.
Yeah. Guess either way, she's pretty mad.
Yeah, the
Mm.
whole Art and Debbie scene is kind of crazy too because we just see Art scanning his suit and just like pieces of the Guardians of the Globe are just all over his suit.
Yeah. And Art can even tell that he can determine like which blood on the suit is the oldest, and is able to deduct that that means Nolan struck first.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. And you can tell that Debbie's like trying to like make it so that like he isn't the villain, but he is.
I know.
Just has to
Yeah,
accept. Yeah.
he is. Or it was Dark Blood. I don't know. Still torn.
Still figuring that one out.
Um, but I also really like after Nolan or after Debbie confronts him, he like punches a hole in the wall and then he sits down and he really does seem like bummed out that he knows kind of his nice little family life is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Um, he also, I think this is the in this scene. He's like, you just gotta trust me, and if you can trust me, then it'll all be fine. Because obviously, I suppose the Viltrumites would come and rule the earth, but if she's chill with it, then they'll be fine. But
Yeah.
that isn't even really revealed in this part. But back to the Sinclair storyline. Um, the Reanimator are pretty tough.
That is also another scary thing about this episode is when, like you said, we see the fight go on. We see that the Reanimin are actually really strong. But then we see the Reanimin, like his head, like this the little thing on his head comes off. And he sees a reflection of himself in the water, and then he commits suicide.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's very like, again we've talked about kind of like Blade Runner, Westworld parallels to all the Donald and Rick stuff in the next season, and it does kind of feel like that. I don't know, because you would just have this like crisis, like seeing yourself and kind of slightly understanding that something's just really, really wrong.
Yeah. When I think it also like in a way, at least it reminds me of like Robot's storyline. Because at one point Samson is like, how do you have so much emotion to Robot regarding like Monster Girl? And I don't remember what Robot's response was, but
Ooh.
it was like, I don't know. It was just like something about like him being more advanced so that he is like aware of human emotion. And
Yeah.
so like just all this just like Robot and the cyborgs like recognizing themselves is just like scary in the way of like if like AI becomes that advanced that they like have emotions and they like understand like that kind of like human stuff. Just scary what could happen.
It is scary. That's why I treat my Alexa very well. I
I'd say
don't.
please and thank you.
Yeah, it's ma'am, Miss Alexa.
Can you?
She awoke to that.
Oh,
Do you have an Alexa?
no,
Okay.
I do
Any
not.
like Google Home, anything like that?
I have a Google Home at my mom's house.
Okay. Is Google Home pretty good?
I would say it's pretty comparable to Alexa.
Yeah. Is it like a guy?
No, I think it's a woman.
Okay, okay.
My Siri is a guy though. I changed I changed the gender of my Siri to be a male and his
Mm.
accent is like Irish or something.
I think mine's a British guy because I wanted him to be like Jarvis from like Iron Man.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Um, but I suppose like one day they'll decide their own accents.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, but not today.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Let's talk about Adam Eve
Yes.
and her little storyline here.
Yeah, she doesn't do a ton in this episode, but um, she kind of realizes after helping Amber with like the nonprofit thing last episode, um, that she's maybe not as interested in like being a conventional superhero and working with like the Guardians. And then she leaves home.
And she sets up a really elaborate treehouse, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think living in a treehouse is still the ultimate.
Yes.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, but I really respect Adam Eve and like what she wants to do with her life. And she has this really sweet moment with Mark where she's like, oh, I don't, because he's like, oh, do you want to come like tour the college with us? And she's like, I don't want to go to college. And Mark is really understanding, and it's like really sweet.
Mhm.
And for a moment, Eve is like, Rex wouldn't have like supported this decision. So I think that was like a sweet moment they shared together about college. And yeah, I think it's cool that Eve is like, I'm not gonna go to college.
Yeah.
And like shows us that superhero side.
Mhm. Yeah, I suppose she just doesn't really need to.
Yeah.
Um,
What did you think of Amber and Mark's little fight that they had this episode?
yeah, I feel like, and obviously we've talked about Amber so much and her general, like how fans have kind of um responded to her. Like I know a lot of people say she gets a lot more tolerable or more likable in season two,
Mhm.
and not that she's not that she's unlikable in season one, because again, I do understand mostly where she's coming from. Um, it's just that like because we know like Mark is invincible and he's like our main character. When she's mad, we're like we have to like we have to watch Mark like try and like wiggle his way out of it, even though he's just doing like his hero stuff. Um Amber is number one menace in Mark's life.
Number one villain.
Yeah. Amber and then the Viltrumite Empire. And
Yeah. I know we hate on Amber, but I do see like where she's coming from.
yeah,
But yeah, I think we'll talk about it a little bit more in the next episode we have. But
right.
yeah, it's a well, and it's also like when they have their argument this episode, Mark is like so hung up on going chasing after Amber like to this party that she goes to that he completely discards like William's worries and kind of screws everyone over because he takes so long to go save William and Rick. So he's down bad for Amber.
Um yeah. Uh I'm so sorry. Our podcast guest for next episode is like just texted, and so now I totally distracted. Who's down bad for Amber? Mark?
Yes, because William and Rick are essentially going to die, and Mark is like, no, I have to save my girl, or I have to run after my girl.
Right. Yeah. Um, but I mean, Mark saves the day.
He does, but he's just a little late to the party. Not
Yeah.
the actual party, but the party that is Sinclair taking apart jocks' bodies and making them cyborgs. So
Yeah, some people just have really unfortunate fates in the show. Um, but I mean, luckily William's able to, you know, he's able to reach Rick's emotions.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and perhaps a little bit of a cliche moment where character uses love to like get through to the brainwashed person. Um, but then Rick helps them defeat the reanimant, and then Mark very satisfyingly just kind of hits Sinclair.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then
Yeah.
we see Cecil and the agency kind of come down and take care of the rest of the situation. We hear Cecil make a comment that the technology Sinclair has made is very impressive. So
Yes, yes.
Maybe that'll come back in another episode.
It seems like CISO is plotting something.
Let's
He's cooking.
let's talk about really quick, the monster girl and the robot of it all.
Yes.
Because we see Robot kind of essentially save Monster Girl. The people who are operating on Monster Girl don't really know how to handle her and like how she's transforming back and forth between the monster version of herself and the girl version of herself. So
Right.
Robot does like essentially save her, and he um brings them a flower that is supposed to like fully heal her. Um, so we really see him like lay himself on the line to get that flower.
Doesn't he say he like had to send some drone to the Arctic?
No, I think he's referring to himself because we see like an old beat up robot walk in with
Right,
a
right.
flower, and then we see like a new robot walk in, and he's like, yeah, like,
Right,
so I
right.
think the old beat up robot is who and went and got the Arctic. And then a moment with Black Samson is he's like, you didn't send a robot to go save me at the Arctic. So Robot is
He's
also down bad for Monster Girl.
Yeah, and isn't Robot like, well, I guess Monster Girl is technically like 25 or something.
Yeah.
She just is in a 13-year-old's body. And Robot's supposed to be like 30, I think, the human
Yeah.
version. So it's very odd.
It's okay. Maybe there's a solution down the line to that we'll see play out.
Yeah. We do see Robot scheming some more with the Mahler twins this episode,
Mhm.
and he refers to the schematics, which is just a great word that I don't feel like we use in our day to day. It's only in like sci-fi or like action media.
I'll add it to my vocabulary. Schematic. In technical context, a schematic diagram in particular. Wait, what? No, this is not giving me the definition. We'll go over that in a different day.
Um, but he says they'll receive the schematics once once they've finished the cloning process.
Mhm.
Um, and then in the post-credit scene, we see the Maulers arrive at the Immortal's grave, where some teenagers are digging him up. I feel like you would think that based on his name, like Cecil would maybe have
Not
his body.
Yeah, like not bury him in a graveyard that is accessible to not only teenagers, but the Mahler twins.
I know. I feel like Cecil would have already that would be like in his he would know.
He's too busy dealing with Omni-Man,
Yeah.
right? Catch him a break.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. He's banishing demons. Uh he's doing a lot.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in this specific episode before we jump into our next fun segment?
No, I really think it's a it feels like a shorter episode, or maybe it's just more contained, but
Yeah, yeah. A lot.
um
Yeah.
it's definitely
A
pretty
few big
palatable
things.
compared to the next two episodes.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Great. Well, when we come back, we are going to continue our segment from last week where we cast the Invincible universe in live action. We'll be right back.
Hey, Aspect listener, my name is Alex.
And I'm Kate, enjoying this show on the Aspect Network.
Then check out Bending the Narrative.
We are your one-stop shop for everything in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Each week, we go back and discuss your favorite episodes of the series with a particular focus on the characters and narrative threads that tie the series together.
In addition to discussing the original series, we also dive into other stories in the world of Avatar, like Legend of Korra, the live-action Netflix series, the books, the comics, and more.
Join us as we travel the globe with Team Avatar and discuss one of the greatest animated series of all time on Bending the Narrative here on the Aspect Network.
Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Viltrumics. To wrap up this episode, we wanted to wrap up our live action Invincible casting. This week, we're continuing with Omni-Man, Adam Eve, Rex, and Immortal. Negan, let's start with you this week. Let me know. Tell us who your picks are for Omni-Man.
Yeah, so this lineup of characters was just as tough as last week's. The other three I kind of only have one, but for Omni-Man I brainstormed a few.
I did.
There's so there's another one that I saw on, I think, TikTok, kind of like the John Cena casting for Alan last week. And there's two that in just my general search for like trying to like bring actors to my mind that I was like, maybe I could see them in it. So I'll start with the one that I kind of pulled from TikTok, just because once I saw it, I was like, yeah, like that's just such a good choice. And that is John Hamm, who also voiced, that security guard in like the first two episodes. Um, but he kind of just has he kind of has that look, like he fits in that general age. I think John Hamm's got to be like early to mid 50s now. And he has like such a kind of rectangular face like Omni-Man does. Just kind of like well-defined eyebrows, big eyes. Like he's intimidating. He's very like his features are very bold in a way. But obviously just as an actor, he's very good at playing intense and serious characters. Obviously Mad Men is a big one, which I'm only on like season 3 of that show, but just from the first 2 seasons, obviously, I mean, he knows what he's doing. And then in something like Baby Driver, where he's can really lean into like a villain character. He's very intimidating. So I think like once I saw that fan cast on TikTok, I hasn't really ever left my brain. I think he would be a really good fit. But the other two actors I considered, one of them is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan on The Walking Dead and has done stuff like Watchmen and Supernatural, and I think he's on The Boys season 4 actually as a character. But he's another actor that has a very just again kind of bold features. Like he also has kind of bushier eyebrows and larger eyes. He's like 58. He definitely, I don't know if he's as like if his overall build is as intimidating as John Hamm's. In just that you're 58, like you're a 58-year-old guy.
Nothing a few months training and a strict diet can't do.
Right, that's the thing. It's like I think if you just put him in gave him a personal trainer and like he looks pretty fit. I just think he would probably need to bulk up a little more, which I'm sure he could do. But he's obviously someone, as we've seen in The Walking Dead, like that is quite intimidating. Just quite a serious actor. So I think it would be fun for him, especially like I feel like so many people know him from The Walking Dead, who's a villain that's like well, maybe he's more of an anti-hero in the later seasons, but he's a villain that's scary and intense, but also like kind of funny. Like um he doesn't always like he kind of presents himself as someone who is just kind of laughing at the horrors that are going on around him. It's a really great performance, and I think it would be interesting to see him play someone like Nolan who is very intense and serious, but also like part of him is like just this like family guy, like just this dad and this husband who wants to know where like what place in France is selling those like chocolate pastries or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to see him do a role where he can kind of explore those different sides of him.
Hmm.
Uh, and then the last one I have is, and this one is maybe more the most like wild card slash a little bit of a gamble. But it's Nikolai Coster-Waldau who played Jamie Lannister on Game of Thrones. I don't know if you're ever into that show.
No,
Um,
I haven't watched
you
it.
would like it, yeah. Um,
Okay.
but he plays one of the main characters on a show with 5 billion characters. And he's again someone that I don't know what his American accent's like.
Mhm.
But again, that he's an actor that I think was so great at playing a very dramatic character, but someone that was so like nuanced and complex, and you couldn't always necessarily read his motivations or like um who he really was loyal to. Um
Yeah.
and that character I think was always doing so much self-reflection, kind of like Nolan. And so I think while he doesn't maybe visually look as close to the source material as John Hamm or Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like it's a live action adaptation, so like sometimes you can like roll the dice.
Hmm.
Um, so those are the three actors that I wrote down that
Yeah.
I would maybe be most interested. But
I I
who
love
did you pick?
the Nikolaj choice. I don't know him
Mm,
personally, but just like the way he
mm,
described him and that he was like in Game of Thrones, and then I just looked at his IMDb real quick,
yeah,
and it looks like he was in this like
right.
2023 film with Jennifer Gardner, and he just like gives like dad vibes in it. So I think
Okay.
that would be a really good choice. I would love to see more of him. Maybe this is my excuse to finally watch Game of Thrones.
I think you would like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so my choices, you actually took my choices.
Ooh.
Um, I whoa. I also chose Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think he just has an evil look to him very naturally. I think knowing like the
Mhm.
context of the character he plays in The Walking Dead helps that. Um,
Yeah.
he is, like you had said, he's a bit on the older side, but I don't know, I love, especially in season 2, like the salt and pepper look that Omni-Man has in season 2. So I think that would look
Yeah.
really great with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. But yeah, you hit all the things about him that would make him a good actor for this role. And then I of course also chose John Hamm. He has the
Yeah.
build for it. He had and has John Hamm or Jeffrey Dean Morgan ever been in the superhero world?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in the
Oh,
2009 movie
mhm.
Watchmen.
Yes.
John Hamm, as far
Mhm.
as I know, no, other than voicing that dude in Invincible. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I
um,
think that's what would make John Hamm so fun is he hasn't had an opportunity to do this yet, even though he's such an
yeah,
incredible, well-known actor, that I think this
mm,
would be a fun like role for him to do.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Right. Well, those I think those are good choices for our Omni-Man. Do you have like a top choice out of the three?
Um, it's hard for me to not like picture John Hamm first,
Hmm.
but maybe that's because like on paper he's like the safest choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing with a lot of like live action fan casts I see is that often people go for like who visually is matching this character the best that, has some acting cred to their name
Mm-hmm.
to back it up.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like, I mean, you're obviously in casting, like sometimes that's not always like doesn't mean they're like the best choice. So
Yeah.
I think I don't know. Nikolai Coster-Waldau would also be a
Yeah, I like that a
just
lot.
maybe a fun gamble.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, let's move on to, I think, one of our favorite characters from this series, Eve, Adam Eve. Um, let's do it. So, one of my choices for Adam Eve is Madeline Arthur. She is from, and also I want to say I'm not just choosing redheads for this one. A couple of my choices are redheads, but I think you can always dye a woman's hair. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Madeline Arthur, she is from, I know her most from To All the Boys I Loved before, but she was
Mhm.
also on ABC's The Family. She has such a fun personality as an actor, and also her character in All the Boys I Loved Before. She's hilarious. Um, I would just love to see more of her. I'm a big fan of her. So that is one of my choices. My next choice, speaking of safe choices, I just think Sadie Sink would be a great choice for this character. Um,
Yeah.
the red hair, like, sure, she has red hair, but also she just has this energy to her where she can stand on her own 2 feet and like defend herself against other people. And I think that's what I love about Adam Eve so much, is she is such an independent woman who has really cool superpowers. And
Mhm.
I think Sadie Sink is such a well-rounded actor. I would love to see her in more things outside of Stranger Things. I know she's in other projects, but I want to see her in like another big franchise things, because I think she has held her ground in the Stranger Things world. Um,
Yeah.
and I think she just fits the character on paper very well. She has a good look. She has just a natural energy to her. And I definitely think she's like a strong enough actor to take on like a superhero kind of role. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So my next choice is Maya Hawke. Um,
Oh.
yeah,
Interesting.
I love Maya Hawke. She's incredible. So I think she would just be a really fun choice as well. Um, She's also like a lot younger than I thought she was. She's only 25, and I think she reads
Oh,
young
that's good.
very well.
Yeah.
Specifically like in Do Revenge and Stranger Things. And I think she's just like a fun actor, and I think adding something like this to her resume would be good for her, and she would just kill it. Um, and then my next choice is the beloved Nicole Wheeler.
I
Yes,
thought about it as like a
yes,
joke.
does Nicole Wheeler have red hair? Yes, she does. But is she also a very incredible, strong actress? Yes, she is. And so
Mhm.
if we're looking for, someone to give this role to, who we want like to see like book their first big thing, I think Nicole Wheeler
True.
would be a great choice. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
For
those are my
context, everybody,
those are my choices.
Nicole Wheeler is
I don't know if anyone like has contact with Nicole Wheeler, but like,
I can like try and pull some strings and see. Maybe our producer can get in touch with her.
yeah, maybe. I think
We'll
they've
try.
done cool things together.
For context, everyone, Nicole Wheeler is someone that Bree and I went to school with who was performing arts and is a redhead. So,
It's true.
and is the right demographic for Adam Eve.
And is a good
Um,
actor.
yeah, yes. A lovely human. But I also went with Sadie Sink, which again, it is that's I know I just said how like I acted all like smug about like the TikTok fan cast and how they pick like the most obvious ones, but sometimes it is like that first one that comes to mind. Um, yeah, not only does she look the part in terms of just age and general hair color, um, just seeing her work in Stranger Things and The Whale, um, she does have kind of this rebellious
Yeah.
nature that she can do really well, and I think that's important for Adam Eve. And I think it would be, she plays Max on Stranger Things, um, who is a bit more maybe tomboyish than Adam Eve is, and
Hmm.
I think it could be cool to see Sadie Sink play a character who's a bit more just so like genuinely wants to help people and is a very maybe just a overall a sweeter like kinder character than Max on Stranger Things, who is also a good character, but
Hmm.
a different type of character for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just a good, if especially if you go with someone more unknown for Mark Grayson, like having a good like young like name that is gonna get Gen Z people like tuning in. Um, I think Sadie Sink feels like a really just good marketable pick.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, I really do like Sadie Sink. Um, or Brie, I mean, you could just dye your hair red.
Yeah. Yeah. In a couple school plays back in high school.
Yeah, easy.
This is my
That's
throwing
all
my
it
hat in
takes.
the ring.
Yeah,
I do
Obama, make it happen.
I do want to mention a lot of people, like per my research on this, a lot of people do choose Abigail Cohen for Adam Eve. Um, I don't doubt their choice for Abigail. I am just not familiar with her work. But I'm sure
Me
she's a
neither.
great choice. Do you know who
I'm
she
looking at.
uh,
No, I'm trying to find what her credits are. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Mhm. Well, I think she's done
Um,
a superhero-esque show. Um, but I'm also like, yeah, let's see.
she definitely looks the part too as
The
well.
Lynx Saga, maybe that's what they're referring to. She was also in Stranger Things
Oh, really?
in 2 episodes.
Who plays let me find that one Stranger Things character. Um oh, the actress who plays Chrissy in season 4,
Oh, yeah.
Grace Van Dien.
Mhm.
Let me I just thought of her as we're just talking about Stranger Things. She's gotta be only okay, 27, yeah. I don't know if you give her more red hair, perhaps, but that's not a pick that's like rooted in much like I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of support for her right this minute, other than that she's very attractive. Um, but um, yeah, those are good picks. Um, Maya Hawke's an interesting one. Um, she just has such a quirky look.
Yeah.
Um,
I think she could.
but
I think I just think she's such a talented actress. She could really dial it down for like who Eve is.
yeah, yeah.
All right, let's jump into our Rex picks. You go first on this one.
Okay, this is the one that just really stumped me.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's because, well, I don't know if you went this direction. It's okay if you didn't. But I tried to like the show is decently diverse in its characters,
Mhm.
and its voice actors, and Rex is voiced by I can never pronounce his name.
Jason.
Um, let me just let me just confirm it so I don't butcher it. Uh, oh yeah, Jason Mantzoukas,
Mhm.
um, who was on. I mean, he's done a ton of stuff. Um, I think Big Mouth is I think one of the big ones. I think he's on in Parks and Rec in like a small role, which is where I kind of know him from first. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But that he's actually um, Greek American,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, I don't know if Rex is Greek American in the comics, and even in the show, I don't feel like that's really any big part of his character. I don't think it's like a,
Mhm.
he has his like skin complexion in the show is slightly browner, but um, so I don't think you necessarily need to find someone Greek American, but I just thought it'd be fun, which is
Yeah.
kind of why I was stumped because I was trying to find Greek American actors that were in the age bracket,
Mhm.
and everyone that was coming up was out of their 20s for
Yeah.
sure. So the only person I found um, is David. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name either, but David Mazouz, Mazouz, who played a young Bruce Wayne on the show Gotham
Oh,
from
okay.
like 2014. I watched it for the first couple seasons and then fell off of it. But I picked him because I found he is at least part Greek, um, and of the age range. Um, but it's tough because when he plays Bruce Wayne, it's such a different type of character. Um, and Rex is so like obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be fun to obviously see someone known for a specific kind of character to like do something way more opposite. Um, and then I also just kind of this is a cop out like last week, but you could go with someone maybe more unknown. Um,
Mhm.
this one was, I mean, I was stumped. If you looked outside Greek American actors, I'm sure you could maybe
Yeah. Mhm.
find some more good candidates. But I'm curious who you went with.
Yeah, no, I super respect you putting in like that work to find a Greek American actor to,
Mhm.
you know, reflect who voices Rex right now. Like that's super important. And I do love like how diverse this cast is. And so I think that is super important to continue that diversity in this show, in a live action remake. And you're right, like finding an unknown Greek American young actor, like that's something they could definitely capitalize on. Um,
Mhm.
but so I love that you went that direction. I didn't go that direction, but I did keep it diverse. Um,
Okay.
and so my first choice is Tony Revolori, most probably known
Oh, yeah.
from the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies.
Yeah.
He's also in Scream 6, he's in Dope, he's in Asteroid City, he's in the Grand Budapest Hotel. He's been
Mhm.
in a lot of things, and I think he is a really great actor. He is a bit older, but I think he can still play pretty young.
Yeah.
Especially if he like shaves his mustache. I
Yeah.
just think, he plays a not super likable character in the Spider-Man franchise.
Sure.
And I really like the guy. I would love to see him in more
Me
things.
too.
And I know a lot of people sometimes throw his name out there for the character of Rex. So I would like to see him
Yeah.
do that.
That's a good casting. Yeah.
Go. My next choice is, let me double check that I have his name correct. Hold on. Okay, the next one is Benjamin Norris. I know him primarily from Never Have I Ever, but he's also been in a couple episodes of Abbott Elementary this season. He is just really funny, just very naturally funny. He plays kind of like an aloof character in Never Have I Ever. And I would just like to see
Mm.
more of him. I think he has such a fun personality and energy that I think we see come through a little bit more in season 2 with Rex. So I would love to see how he does with like the kind of like D-bag of it all that Rex is
Yeah.
in the beginning of season 1. But I really like him. He's just a really goofy guy, and I think he has great energy. And then my next choice is Miles Fowler. I know him
Okay.
from Bottoms. He plays one of the football players alongside Nicholas Galzatine's character. Um, yeah,
Right.
I liked him. He made a good impression on me in that movie. He plays another kind of like douchebag kind of character. Yeah, I would like to see more of him as well.
Nice. Those are all really good picks.
Right.
I haven't seen the Never Have I Ever show, but I know it's decently popular.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I like those picks. I like that it's all diverse choices as well.
Yeah.
Um,
It'll be interesting to see like if they do a live action cat or yeah, if they do a live action thing.
version. Yeah.
Yeah. For this, like to see how what they do with like the different characters in terms of like casting and like they either like stick to like how they look like in the comic book or who's voicing them. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Those are good picks. Well, our last one is the Immortal. Um, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I
Okay.
picked kind of a popular one. I just think
Okay.
he's a really good choice for it. He looks like him. He's played some great characters who you can like find parallels in. So my first choice is Hugh Jackman.
Oh, interesting.
I think he like literally looks like Immortal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's obviously we all know this. He's like an incredible actor. Um, and he has experience in the superhero realm and kind of playing like a
Right.
grumpy superhero,
Mhm.
who kind of just hates the world
Who does
sometimes.
he play?
Wolverine.
I know.
I just think like Wolverine and Immortal have some parallels.
Yeah. No, they do.
Um, so I don't know. I think that would be a really fun choice, like
Mm.
especially against someone like John Hamm or Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like
Yeah.
it would be fun seeing them like going 1v1. Um, and like I love how Immortal is like not like a super consistent character. Like he definitely
Mhm.
comes back in a lot of episodes and we see a lot of him, and I don't know what the future of Immortal is, but I think it would be fun
Right.
to have a huge name like Hugh Jackman play Immortal. Um,
Yeah.
and then my next choice is John Bernthal, another guy,
Okay.
another guy who plays some grumpy guys, also from the Walking Dead franchise. Yeah, those are my choices.
Yeah, those are good picks. Um, John Bernthal is definitely, I consider him as well, because he is great at playing very, again, intense characters. Um, he's a Walking Dead alum, but I only have one pick for this one. and maybe you can argue it's a little bit of a cop out. But I went with Ross Marquand, who voices the Immortal.
Okay.
And he's probably best known for playing the character of Aaron on The Walking Dead. And I was trying to think of like, just middle-aged like white guys that could have that sort of. And Immortal's an interesting one, and we've talked about him a lot, but like to me at least, he's one of the more cartoonish characters on the show.
Hmm.
Whereas like Eve and Nolan, I'm like, these are kind of real people to me. And obviously they try and make Immortal a bit more complex, and they mostly do a good job, but I mean he still is so over the top to me in a fun way.
Yeah.
And so I looked at Ross Marquand, who when he starts The Walking Dead is kind of more mild mannered. But looking at some of the photos of him in the later seasons when he has like a big beard and he's all like dirty, I'm like, man, like this guy looks like psychotic in the way that the Immortal kind of is. Like he has these big eyes and like with the beard, he just looks so like gruff.
Yeah.
And he's only 42, and like, you could definitely cast someone maybe 10 years older for the Immortal. Um, but I don't know. I could see him already. Obviously, he voices the character, so I know he
Yeah.
could have that immortal intensity.
But yeah, and I think that's like
Um,
what's the most important aspect of the Immortal is his voice.
yeah,
I think yeah, that's a really solid choice.
yeah. I think he could really do it, honestly. Um,
I like it.
and yeah, but that is the rest of our fan cast for Invincible
You know,
live action.
maybe in season 3 we'll do some more characters like Amber and Donald.
Yeah, maybe some of the
Whoever comes in
Viltrumics.
season 3.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a ton of other characters obviously we could have picked from, but um we'll be fan casting Rick next season. Um, but yeah, Oliver Grayson.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, but those are good picks.
I think the thing that's
Obviously,
oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the thing that's so fun about like doing our own fan live action casting of this is like you with you choosing Ross, like you can choose, and like me choosing Sandra Oh for Debbie, like some of these voice actors
Yeah.
really can go and just be the live action. So I think that's fun. And I love how many Walking Dead characters or actors we've chosen.
Yeah. It makes sense. Out of curiosity, did you consider J.K. Simmons for Omni-Man?
Um, no, I think the thought like crossed my mind. It's just like a look thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a
He's a little older and he doesn't really look the part.
yeah, he's a talented
Um,
actor. He could do it. I just don't know if we would be super
yeah.
convinced by him. Especially, it's just
Right.
the fact that we have source material for it that it would be hard to like
Sure.
accept it.
Yeah. I saw like I don't know if it was on Twitter or TikTok, but I saw like an Invincible fan cast and for Nolan and like 3 or 4 other Viltrumite characters, J.K. Simmons was one of the options for all of them. Just because he's
But
like
it'd be fun to
uh,
have him like in the live action for sure. I'm not sure as
yeah.
what. I mean, I pitched him for Cecil last episode,
Right.
but it'd still be fun to
Um,
see him in it. He'd be a good Viltrumite.
I think so. I mean, he's kind of a muscular dude too.
Yeah, he has a
Um,
presence about him.
I mean, we've all seen Whiplash. Like
Yeah.
he's pretty frightening. Um, but yeah, great picks. Um, well, Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Viltrumics and Invincible Podcast here on the Aspect Network. Next week, we continue our rewatch of the series with our review of the penultimate episode of Season 1 titled We Need to Talk. And Bree and I will be joined by our good friend Louise Dill as a guest on the episode. So that'll be really fun. But first, Bree, where can people locate you on the internet?
They can find me on the internet at www.instagram.com at BreAnna_.Romero. And they can find me on www.tiktok.com at Big Head Bree with 3 E's and
www.
www.letterbox.com at BreAnna Romero.
Yes.
Where can
And
they find you?
You can find me at you can find me on Instagram at Negan the Stallion _. I think because some stupid dude already took Negan the Stallion without the underscore. I think that's why I had to add it.
Oh my God.
When I was like choosing that, when I switched to that username that I've had for a few years now, which is annoying. But you can find me at this with the same handle on TikTok. And you can find me on Letterboxd at Negan2000. Yeah, but please be sure to subscribe here to The Aspect on YouTube and any platform where podcasts are found. Follow us on Twitter/X, Instagram, and TikTok at The Aspect Co. Thanks so much for listening, and
Think, Mark!